My name is Frank Frazier, AKA Bounty Tank. I've been a bounty hunter for over 12 years. I've recovered over $1 million in bonds. This is everything I'm authorized to tell you. I was on a hunt looking for a guy. This truck pulled up to me and they was like, hey, you better get off this block. And they started shooting. I'm running for my life. There's no one to help you. It had to be at least 20 shots. So that was my first a rude awakening that this badge don't mean nothing to certain people. A bounty hunter is an agent that goes out to apprehend fugitives that are on bail that have skipped court. The misconception people have for bounty hunting is that it's all glitz and glamour. People watch it on TV and all they see is the fun part. They see the door kicking, the chasing, the hunt. They don't see the countless hours that you're sitting in a car doing surveillance. They don't see the death threats you're getting for looking for certain individuals. You got people calling, threatening you, if you come back to my house, I'm gonna kill you. I've made over 2,000 arrests. One of the things that make me unique is the lengths I'm willing to go to find people. I'm very crafty. There was a young lady, she was a prostitute, and she was on the run. So what I did was, I put up a Craigslist ad advertising that I was shooting a porno. So I put the ad up because I was told that she periodically goes online to Craigslist and other websites to look for odd jobs. And she wind up hitting this ad. Probably about a week later, we got a call. She sent photos and she bit on it. We gave her a location at the motel to meet there. We told her what to expect. We had music playing. We had the camera set up, obviously, so she would think it was shooting an actual porn. But it was no different because if I was hunting, I would have my camera set up. So it worked out perfectly. I had my shirt off. I was well lathered up to play the part. She came in, she felt comfortable. Then I told her, hey, we're gonna switch to this scene. I'm going to put some handcuffs on you. Things might get a little wild. And she was like, oh, okay, I like this. This is starting to turn out great how I wanted to. At this point, she's cuffed up. Then I say, okay, we're gonna go to the next scene. I'm gonna take you to the car. And she's still just going along with it at this point. I take her to the car and she's still not aware of what's going on at this time. We start getting closer to the police station. Now she's like, well, where are we going? I'm like, I'm taking you to jail. And she's like, we're having a scene in jail? I said, you're gonna have a scene in jail, but I'm taking you to jail. I'm your bail bondsman. A bail bondsman is an insurance agent that loans out money to defendants who can't necessarily afford to bail out themselves. She realized that the gig is up. She realized she was going to jail. So it was crazy, I'm not gonna lie. You have to be honest with yourself. Certain places are more friendlier than others. Early on in my years, I went to Detroit. I was on a hunt looking for a guy, and I thought that me having a badge and a gun meant something. I was around in the neighborhood, I was like on 6-7 miles. Like I was in the trenches, handing out, this was old, so I was handing out pictures, flyers. Hey, seen this guy, walking around, just willy-nilly. And I'll never forget, this truck pulled up to me and it was like, hey, you better get off this block, get out of here. If we come back here and you still here, it's gonna be problems. Paid them no attention. Again, I'm high and mighty. I'm thinking, whatever, they're not gonna do nothing to me. They're just talking. They came back, maybe about an hour or so, and they started shooting and chasing me. And I'll never forget, I remember finally getting into this abandoned building. I was hiding, and they were still looking. So walking around looking. I had dropped my phone. I had no one to call. I was just sitting in there, scared out of my life, thinking, wow, it's about to be over. So I'm sitting in there, and they stayed out there looking for at least about 45 minutes. And I waited at least another hour and 15 minutes before I left. Don't ever get it twisted to think that I'm above or I can do anything I want or talk to anybody any type of way, because there's people who don't care about that and they'll put you in your place. I've been out at the mall several times with my family. I was out with my wife, my daughter. I see a guy that has a warrant. I've been looking for it for a while. He sees me, I see him. And at this point, I'm like, I can't do this here. My kid's here, my wife is here. This could literally go south. In those situations, you got to pick or choose. You know, are you going to prioritize your job or your family at that point? And this has happened to me multiple times where we get to a person's house or in their neighborhood, in their hood, and they have 30 guys with them, armed to the T, and police won't come out and help us. What do you do at that point? You let your ego, your pride get in front of you? No. You got to understand that if you approach this situation with an ego, that you may not leave. As far as tracking, my first method that I'm always going to do is go straight to social media. I'm going to see you're posting stuff on Facebook or Instagram on your live. If I don't find any social media, I'm going to start looking, finding out where you hang out at. He lives here. Let me go check with this store. Does this guy come in here? Yeah, he comes here every day, gets a pack of cigarettes. So you learn their habits. Then it goes to association. 95% of the time, I'm not even hunting these guys. I'm looking for the women that they hang with because they're not hiding. And they're always going to post them online. I'm here, so-and-so, and you might see his foot in the background. So early on in my career, I was good at my job. So I would catch someone and other bondsmen would recommend me to other bondsmen. And this particular lady reached out to me, this particular bondsman, and she said, hey, I'm looking for this guy. I got him out for $1 million. I cannot find him. So if I found this guy with this $1 million bond, I would make 10% of that, which is $100,000. So that's a lot of money. This was like a major payday for me. I was struggling at the time, just trying to make a career out of this. She gave me this case file. I looked into it. I figured this particular guy, he was a street guy. He sold drugs. He had several women, but I found one particular woman that he had a kid with. So I knew he was an active father as much as he could being in the streets. So I knew that he was, at some point, he would come back to visit her to see his son. And she was a dancer, so there was no loyalty. She was gonna go whoever had the money. So when I found out where she danced, I started to frequently go in there. I would purposely request her. I would purposely spend money on her to the point where she got a little comfortable. I was so-and-so, hey, how you doing? Now, again, I wouldn't do this today. I'm married. But we started to develop a relationship. I can't remember exactly what I told her I did for a living. I just told her I'd get money, and that was cool with her. I probably put in thousands of dollars to find this person, to court her, take her out. So after about a month of courting her, kicking it, spending some money, and then finally got to a day, it was Father's Day. And she was like, yeah, hey, he's gonna come pick up her son at this time. So I'm like, cool. So this day I had made sure I had my vest packed up in my bag and all my tools that I needed. I'll never forget, he knocked on the door, came in. I started thinking like, man, this is kind of messed up. You kind of start feeling bad a little bit, you know? So I'm like, woo, okay. So I go put my stuff on, I come out, he's sitting at the table, so he has nowhere to go. I come out and they just kind of looking at me like, and I'm like, hey bro, I hate to do this, man, but you're under arrest. You got a warrant for your arrest. I'm your bondsman. So he immediately starts going off on her, thinking that she set him up. Going off, getting belligerent. I wound up getting him in control, talking to him real calm, like this is what it is. He wound up just being compliant, putting his hands behind his back. Now, you would think the trouble would come from him. Oh no, the trouble came from her. She started to commence an ass whooping on me, swinging, kicking, spitting on me. She was just, and I understand it. I understand. She felt betrayed. She was just confused. She was angry. And I felt bad about it. So I was like, I can never do that again, even I don't care how much the money's worth. As a bondsman, we try to stay away from gang members, if all possible. Sometimes you don't know they're affiliated with a gang, and it just is what it is. But we deal with all type of cases, from misdemeanors to F1 felonies. There was a situation where I bonded out a guy. He was trafficking marijuana, truckloads semis, and we got them out for trafficking drugs. I remember going to this guy's house, knocking on the door, like, hey, you got a payment coming up. I need you to make sure you get a payment. And he looked at me through my soul. There's not too many guys that just look at me and just look at me like I'm nothing. I could just see in his eyes, he was different. He wasn't a normal fugitive that we go after. Turns out he was a part of the cartel. Now, at this moment, when I found this out, I said, oh my God, I hope this guy goes to court. We don't want to be searching for a cartel member. And God, sense of humor, he missed court. So, at this point, I'm not afraid to go after anyone. This is a job, this is what comes with it, you gotta do what you gotta do, or you lose money. But at this point, I'm like, how are we gonna do this? We can't lose the money, but then again, we can't put our family and our life in jeopardy looking for this guy. But luckily for us, it went federal, and the feds picked it up, and we didn't have to go after him. That was a situation where I don't know what would have happened, to be honest with you. There was another situation with me and Tony, that's who I work with now, where we walked up to a house. We were just doing something normal, going to knock on the door just to have a conversation. We were about to go knock on the door, and the guy we wanted to talk to literally hops out the bushes and comes around us. And he could have just shot, he could have took us down. So he seen us on the cameras and was in the bushes. Not knowing who we were until we kind of got up, he kind of seen, identification and badges. But it could have went bad again. You just have situations like that. It's a dangerous job. You start to get a little desensitized to things. I remember we went to this guy's house. He was an older guy, and he literally had a pistol on him. And me and Tony were just kind of sitting there, hey, put the pistol down, like just super calm. And retrospect, looking hindsight, we're like, man, this guy could have shot us. Looking back at it kind of shook me a little bit, because sometimes we're so desensitized to things that you don't really realize it. We get the word that an individual is in a certain location. We're going to go surveillance the house first. The longest I've had to stay in a car was 3 days. I got intel from someone saying, hey, he's in the house for sure. But it was a third-party house, so I couldn't just go barge into this house legally without physically seeing him. So if it's a third-party house, it's not on the application or on a warrant. You can't just go in there unless you see them. If you physically identify them in this house, we have the legal right to go in there. So I knew this guy was in this house. I knew if I left, it was a possibility that he would leave. And I was just waiting for one sign for him to pop his head out. And I also knew that he probably knew that I was sitting outside. So at this point, it's a waiting game. Who's gonna outweigh who? And he might have thought that since I was in the car, that eventually I would leave. He didn't know. I stayed in that car. I had jugs of urine in there that you got to pee in the bottle. I DoorDash food. I ordered a pizza, sat up there, ate. I literally stayed there for 3 days. And finally, like I said, at some point, he popped his head out. At that point, I called everybody and said, hey, I just seen him, it's go time. But if I didn't have the patience to sit there for those 3 days and thug it out, I would have probably knocked on the door and burned the address. Now you're back at level 1, yeah. We're gonna see how many points of entry, windows, we're gonna assess the entire situation. We're gonna find out how many people are in the house. Is this individual armed? What does this individual have on? Once we get all this information, then we'll combine as a team, we'll collab, we'll meet somewhere maybe a mile away from the house. You don't want to meet too close, just in case someone's driving by and they see us, obviously. And nowadays, a lot of people have cameras, so they can see you coming. They can, be prepared for you. Also, we're going to contact local law enforcement to let them know, hey, it's Frank Frazier, I'm in the area, I'm a bail bondsman. We're about to try to apprehend so-and-so. We're at this address, we are armed, there's X amount of guys, so they know exactly what's going on. Because a lot of times, when you're about to go hunt, people might see a bunch of guys putting on gear, and then they call the police. And then the cops show up, if they don't know what's going on, their guns are drawn, and now you got a whole situation. That is
the process before we even getting to the house. Then we want to make sure
everyone's getting dressed. You know, we're getting a bulletproof vest. We're going to have handcuffs. Definitely want to have mace and a taser. And someone's always going to have a gun. The only time it may switch up is if we have to breach a house and we need a sledgehammer or a battle ram. Body cameras on. You want to make sure it's getting documented, because a lot of times things can happen and people may lie on you. You know, you want to make sure that you are holding yourself accountable, and also that you have something to cover your ass if something does go wrong. Me personally, I think the most important quality of being a bounty hunter would be you have to embed patience. If you don't have patience, you're gonna suck at this. A lot of guys in today's hunting industry, they're more smash and grab. They lead with the hammer. There's no finesse. Instead of sitting on this house and watching it for 10 days first, they go burn the address. The address is burned, he's never gonna come back there. Under federal law, we are legally permitted to pursue a fugitive in any dwelling. Its law is called Taylor versus Tainter. We sometimes bump heads with law enforcement because they don't know our laws, and they're like, you need a warrant to do that. We can't do that, but we abide by different laws. It's different laws, it's bail laws. If the co-signer signs this bail contract and we're in agreement, and this person is hiding in your house, we can break entry if we need to. You know, we're gonna knock first, but if we need to come in and kick the door and breach it, we have every legal right to. This was a case I had in Youngstown, Ohio. There was a situation with a guy, his girlfriend. I was looking for this young lady a while. This was a $75,000 bond as well. This individual, we had to track him all the way down to a third-party house, and I found out that he's staying there, he's renting there. His name's on the lease. I got word that she was there. He didn't think that I can come into this house, which he had a rude awakening. And he was like, you can't come in here. I didn't put this on the application. After about 5 minutes, he says, fine, come in, check. So I checked upstairs. She's obviously not upstairs hiding. So now there's a door leading downstairs that is conveniently locked. So I said, hey man, open this door. I can't open this door. This is not my house. You can't go in here. So now he's chesting up and trying to get bold, like, you ain't doing nothing. So now I know she's in there hiding, because if she wasn't, he wouldn't be putting this much of a fight up. So I know exactly when someone's lying to me. 90% of the time when I'm asking questions, I already know the answer to. I just want to see what you're gonna say. At this point, I started to kick this door in to go downstairs. Once we go downstairs, I get to searching. What do you know? She's underneath the bed hiding. He comes downstairs, tries to get loud and bug. You know, I say, hey, you know, I can take this off and we can handle this as men and we can get back to this. And he kindly declined. Most of them do decline. So again, I'm not a police officer. Is it the most professional thing to do? No. But sometimes it calls for it. I don't do that these days, but yeah, earlier in my days, yeah, I was a little bit more, you know, wild. When you have a contract with a bondsman, my standard is 10%. Again, I've been doing this for a while, so when you hire me, I want the full amount. I would say mostly like 5 to 50,000 is the typical. But the higher it is, the more tighter usually bondsmen are, so you don't get as many as those. That $1 million one is the biggest one I've ever collected. So this was some years ago, we had to look for a guy named Ted Palmer. He was known as a meth cooker, and he eventually was convicted of drug trafficking. The bond one was $75,000. It took me 6 months. Not only was I looking for him, local police was looking for him. This guy was different. He could live anywhere. No one wanted to give us answers, and you know, we had X amount of days to find him. And we got down to the last day before we had to pay out that $75,000. The last possible day, I wound up going to Ted's friend's house, who knew where he was. And he drew up a map where Ted was. I called up the task force. I said, hey, I got whereabouts where this guy is. I think it's the real deal this time. Once the task force got there, we all got suited up. My adrenaline is pumping. It was me, the task force, went into the trailer, drug him out. They put out the cuffs, cuffed him up. Had no clue that we were ever going to find him. But that was it. After that, he was caught. But it got down to literally the last day where they said, you either find him or you got to cough up that $75,000. So thanking God we found him that day. There's obviously drug epidemic going on now. I mean, it hasn't stopped. The worse it gets with drugs, the more skips we got. There was one year where all I was looking for was drug addicts. And it's because they fear withdrawals more than they fear me, because they get sick. It's a horrible experience when you're taking drugs every day and then you just go cold turkey and you gotta sit in jail. And they fear that, so they'll take off and run. And they're more afraid of going through that than actually getting arrested by me. So yeah, with the drugs, there's more skips. And it might be a situation where you don't find a person for a month. You don't catch them, you don't eat. When you're hunting, you're gone all the time. It's hard to maintain a stable household because you're always going hunting. And you're just trying to find that next buck. That next buck, you're literally chasing money. Literally, you're chasing money. So in Ohio, if you just want to hunt and make a living off of it, you're not going to make a living. It's not enough to go around. Honestly, you need to be a bondsman. I would recommend doing both to get the full benefit of the industry, yeah. Me personally, I started in Virginia, and I got a bounty hunting license in Virginia. And I went through a company at the time. I don't think they're no longer around, but I went through a company, and they specifically train for this specific job. So you learn like handcuffing, clearing houses, just different tactical work. So that was my base of it. Now, they didn't teach you the skills you need to know when you're out really dealing with people. You just have to have some type of street awareness. If you don't have good instinct, you're not gonna do well. So typically guys who are from certain areas, they know, I shouldn't go over here. I shouldn't approach this person. White hunters, Caucasian hunters, they can't go in the hood. They stick out like a sore thumb. And as soon as they pop up or they seen in the car sitting doing surveillance, they're gonna be noticed. What made me really good is I'm young, I'm urban, I would blend in the neighborhood, so I could do certain things that other individuals couldn't do. Now, there's situations where I go into environments where there's no black people around. Some of the cops are kind of old school, a little racist. I'm gonna take someone with a friendlier skin color with me. This particular case was early on in my years, and I went to a specific bondsman, and I was like, hey, you got some work? He was like, not really. He was like, but I do got one guy that I'm having a hard time finding. And it was one of them situations where he's a white guy and he can't go in the hood. He's not afraid to go in there. He'll do what he gotta do. But he just couldn't because he stuck out and everyone knew him. So he showed me the guy. He showed me where one of his kids' moms was staying. So what I did was I went to his girlfriend's house, asked to get my hair braided. And I called, I was like, hey, he's in here. So he came, rushed, we arrested dude. You just have to have some type of street awareness. So my first hunting experience actually was in Virginia. Crazy, I was still in college. I was in my senior year of college. I knew I wanted to do this. I called around to every bondsman I could. I'll never forget this guy. His name was Michael Jackson, no lie. And he had this case. It was a $1,000 bond, which you only get $100. But he said, hey, I can't find this guy. I don't know where he's at. I heard he's in a hotel somewhere. That's all I know. I went in the area to every hotel, and there had to be about 40 plus hotels. Hey, you seen this guy? Hey, you seen this guy? All night. And probably when I got to about maybe the 30th hotel, they said, yeah, he's in room so-and-so. I said, ha, it's time, okay. I said, hey, can I get the key? They said, no. I said, well, I'm gonna kick it in. Here's the key, sir. I'll never forget that. My stomach was bubbling. I was like, am I really doing this? I'm like, just remember what you was taught. So I started banging on the door. I said, hey, come to the door. It's the bail bondsman. Open up the door. He wouldn't open it. I said, okay. Open the door. I'll never forget the scene. Bro had his laptop up. He had a Snickers, a grapefruit, and he had some porn playing on his computer. And he was butt naked. It was the oddest setup I've ever seen. I was like, get on the ground, put your hands behind your back. And I was like, no. Put some clothes on, put your hands behind your back. But yeah, that was my first time catching somebody. Yeah, man, it was a wild time, man. But it was funny when I took him to the jail. I felt accomplished. I remember calling Michael Jackson. I got him. He couldn't believe. He's like, what? Came, gave me my $100, man. It was uphill since then. Yeah, I spent more money looking for this guy than I did getting $100. I would tell anybody that's getting into bounty hunting or law enforcement, period, if you were bullied as a child, as an adult, and you're trying to use this to get some type of leverage, don't get into this. If you have anger issues, don't get into this. If you just want to be able to hold a gun and give commands and have authority, don't get into this. You have to understand that you have a very big impact on people's lives. You have to know your laws, and you got to know how to move in integrity. So you got to know what you can and cannot do. I mean, sometimes you get those guys who think they're cops, and they start doing too much, and then they wind up in some trouble, you know what I mean? So you got to know what your lane is. When someone misses court, the court will notify you. They'll send a certified letter, to the office saying, hey, this person missed court, you got X amount of days. There is instances where hunters have arrested the wrong defendant. And that, because we're not cops, is very detrimental, because at that point it's kidnapping. So you have to be very sure who you are arresting. You want to check, that's why we get these applications to check body marks, tattoos, so that doesn't happen. So as a bounty hunter, who I'm going to prioritize who to go hunt, there's two factors. How easy it is to find you and how much it is. So I'm going to weigh both of those. If you're a very hard person to find and the bond's very high, I might put you to the side and get the easy ones out the way real quick and then come to you. And just that way I can just focus on this one. And there's another guy, we call him Red Dot, and it took me forever to find this guy. There were probably about 3 times that we almost caught him and he got away. One, there was a car chase. Now, we're not allowed to get in high-speed chases because we're not the police, so I just let him go. We almost had him boxed in. He hit the car, hit my car, bounced, got on the freeway, got away. When you're trying to arrest someone in a car, it can get dangerous. You don't want damages to your car or his car, and you don't want no one to get hurt. So a lot of times, we just let them go. Again, we're not police. So if it's a situation where this guy is super dangerous, we'll get as many people as we need. If we need 10 people, we're gonna call 10 people up. Usually it's about 3 of us. Simple, it's safe, but if we need more, best believe we can get more. There's multiple reasons why people run. You have those that are scared, who've never really been in the system. They're gonna take off running. You have those who wanna get their finances in a better situation. They wanna get more money for a lawyer, so they're out hustling, trying to work, gather money, rather than go turn themselves in. Then you have those who are just on drugs, addicts, and their reality is different. Somewhere high, somewhere they're not paying attention to what's going on in the world. So those are really the basic 3 type of people that miss court. The percentage of people skipping, it just varies. When you start getting around the holiday seasons, summertime, people don't want to go to court. Some months, no one skips. You might have a dry period of 4 months and everyone's just going to court. Then you have that month where it's all hell and no one's going. It's a job that you can't not take home. When you go home, your phone's still ringing. You're dealing every day with negativity. And it's taxing on you mentally. No sleep. You might be away from your home, from your wife, from your kids. If you don't find a positive coping mechanism, you can quickly start using substances to cope with the stress, to numb it. I started personally coping with the wrong things. I started coping with alcohol, just to numb it sometimes. I started coping with weed, coping with going to the strip club, just coping it all with bad mechanisms that took a toll on my life personally, morally, spiritually. It ruined my relationship with, now my ex-wife, it ruined that relationship. I was neglecting my daughter with work, and then after work I would go out and just indulge in foolery consistently, where the chaos started to really, it started to become part of my life. And I started really losing myself just with the stress of it. And then, I started to deal with my own personal demons. I started to fall victim to just dealing with women and the drugs and the alcohol. And it tore me to pieces. And I knew I needed to get right, but I just kept pushing it and pushing it. October 10th, 2024, a day I'll never forget. It's the day I was shot. Simple case, it wasn't nothing out the ordinary. So I got a call like, hey, he's here. It was like, all right, let's go out. We already in Akron, so just a normal day. So we get to the house, the young lady's feeding me information. He's here, and I'm like, well, get him to come outside. We were circling around the house for probably about 20 minutes, listening, scoping out, seeing, what's going on. Normal tactic that I do. She finally calls, she say, he's outside on the porch, hurry up. So I hear him go on the porch. I then run to the back, I scream hands, and then he shoots twice. My life flashed in front of my eyes. I remember feeling myself like, did he get me? Like, I hope he got my vest. And I took my vest off and I felt the blood. I was like, oh. The way I was running, it shot the side of it right here. Just missed my heart by 2 centimeters. I was still talking, I was moving. At the time, the guy I was with, I told him to call the police, call the ambulance, had him apply pressure while he could, and police picked me up, put me in the ambulance, and it was a blur after that. It was a blur, man. The doctors said I was a miracle. They said they don't know how I made it. They had me on something called methane blue. And it's literally, it's blue. They give it to you to keep your blood pressure up. 'Cause I had flatline also. They said that when usually a patient gets methane blue, they're in, and they rarely see people recover who have to receive this. They said they've seen 2 out of their time ever being there. My life changed completely after that, but for the better. I spent 6 months in the hospital. I had to relearn how to walk, eat. I lost my identity. I went through like an identity crisis. I was always known for my big stature, that was gone. I'm now 160 some pounds. So I had to redefine myself and find my meaning in life and come back a different person. It teaches you how to value the small things, just being able to go outside and walk my dog. It made me really start prioritizing what's really important in life. And it brought me and my family closer. It got my spiritual life with God closer. So it was a learning lesson, but I still love the industry. I'm still recovering now. I'm still not 100%. I'm in a much better place than I was when I first got out of the hospital, obviously. I've been able to gain weight. Y'all can see I got a little something now. Don't hey. So I still have one more surgery that's coming up. It's supposed to be, it can be up to a 10-hour surgery. And then I'll be able to, get back to the most normal version of myself that I can be. So recovery's been rough. I started getting questions because, when you're a public figure, some people really don't care about what you're going through. And I would start getting, man, when you coming back? When you doing this? When you doing that? And I would start to think like, am I gonna get back in this? Like, how does my family feel about me getting back in this? I love it, I miss it. So what I did was, I had a test run. And this was gonna be my determining factor if I would get back into this. I went out on a hunt, and I told myself, if I'm one step behind, if I'm feeling scared or if I hesitate, I'm done. Because that split second how you killed or someone else killed. And literally when I got out there, I'm like 160, I'm still frail. I shouldn't even been out there, to be honest, but I had to see how I felt. I didn't skip a beat. It still felt good. I wasn't scared. I still got the same rush. I still felt the same way. I said, it's not time for me to leave yet. If I need to go out, I will go out. But I'm not just out there like I was before. Let me start sharpening different tools within this business, my managing. You know what I mean? You know, I plan on opening up a shop here in the metro area, Detroit, Toledo. So I'm just sharpening different areas of myself and not just be focused on that part. I 100% think there should be more training and better screening. No different from being a police officer, but we don't necessarily have the same process as they do. So I would say more training on the mental part of it. You know, I get so many guys that call me, hey, Tank, yeah, I want to come along, man. I got my CCW. If that's the first thing you tell me, that you got your gun license, I'm turned off immediately, because that's all you're thinking about right away is guns and toting a gun. I've never had to shoot at anyone. I've had physical altercations with people. I'm always leveled and I talk very calmly. It's definitely a dying business, at least in Ohio. And I know it's like that in other states as well. It's just, you know, with all the political people trying to push cash bail away, you know, it's making it harder. So some people would rather just go a different route than take a risk. It is hard to arrest someone that is high on drugs. I've had several crazy arrests where they didn't feel anything. It was like arresting the Hulk. Sometimes it's not worth the little bit of money you're getting, you know? I think that the future could be great, and we start getting more individuals to get in this for the right reasons and not for the wrong reasons. Obviously, the communities that have lesser financial stability, they're going to be affected by this more versus someone who has the money, they can just get straight out, and it's unfair, you know? Everyone deserves freedom, and everyone deserves to be able to get bailed out of jail, regardless of your financial, status.
Has ICE affected how bounty hunters operate?
ICE has affected us personally. Is now when someone calls me to get out of jail, there's not a U.S. citizen or they're just over here on a visa or something, we can't take the chance of getting them out. Versus before all this was happening, we would get them out, but now we get them out, it's a chance ICE is gonna come get them, and now they're gone. But I haven't even personally seen any ICE agents. I guess they just deployed them to Cleveland, so once I catch this flight back home, I guess I'll see them at the airport. So when I was in college, I was thinking about what's next. When I went to school for nursing, I have a BSN. When I seen the football wasn't gonna go, to the next level, then I started looking at, well, what can I do where I can still be athletic? I can still be outside. And I started looking into being a U.S. Marshal. It was a government shutdown for a while at this time. So that was off the board. So I started doing more research, and I was like, what's this bounty hunting stuff? I'm like, wow, it's kind of similar, but it's different. Like, I don't have to cut my hair off, my facial. I'm like, shoot, I can wear regular clothes. So when I moved back to Ohio, I moved back for my daughter, I was doing like dead-end jobs, like cleaning malls and just jobs like that. But I was also bounty hunting because I wanted to pursue this career and be great at it, and I felt something I could be successful at it. So what I would do is go and contact every single bondsman that would give me a chance, and none of them would give me a chance except one. There was one bondsman, rest in peace. He was a good guy, good man. His name was John Craven. Very big bondsman, had a lot of agents, and he took a chance on me. Why? He just took a chance. He's like, yeah, I got some guys. I can't find them here. And I found the guy in 2 days. And he was like, oh, okay. So he gave me another case. Found him, a few days. Kept giving me cases. Now he's like, this guy is good. Now he's giving me cases from his other agents. Now different companies are starting to hit me up. So he opened up doors for me, and then it was uphill from then. So I had great relationships with certain bondsmen that I just kept working for. I decided to become a bondsman, Sly Bail Bonds. Tony Sylvester, that's my brother. He told me, he was like, you're gonna get tired of hunting at some point. He was like, you're gonna wanna start a family. You're gonna want more consistent money. He was like, you need to get into the bonds. And I was like, all right, I'll try this out. And it's been curtains ever since. And he was right. It's more consistent. You will get tired of hunting and being gone for days. And it's job security. If you are advertised right and you're in the right place, you're getting calls every day to get people out. So you can be home more. You can have a family. So yeah, he got me into the actual bail bondsman space. Because I do hunt, I'm able to just go get them myself. They kind of go hand to hand, but if you can write bonds and hunt your people, you're in a good position. I started filming, I'm literally on the hunt in Daytona Beach with a flip phone. And I started seeing people react to it like, oh, this is cool. I like this guy, he different. And I just kept going with it. The more successful, the more money I would get, I would invest it back into the production. So then I went from a flip phone to an iPhone. Then I went to a camera. And I just kept elevating the more I would be successful in dumping it into the production until, I got something solid. I also wanted to give a different perception of a person with a badge. I wanted kids to see a young black man with a badge on just doing good. And you can go this lane. You can be successful. And I wanted them to associate a face with a badge and not have ill will. And just show that you can do anything that you put your mind to. And no matter how crazy it is or how crazy people think it is, it's okay to do things that are outside the norm. You can find me on YouTube at Bounty Tank. My documentary and my album is coming out. It is a testimony of my life and addictions and strongholds that I had to break, and just showing the process of me rehabbing and just the whole entire process of making this album.
Hi, I'm a producer and Authorized account. If you enjoyed this video, then please subscribe and comment with more topics that you'd like us to cover in this series.